Okay, sorry guys. I gotta try to make this super quick because I gotta go off to work. However, I want to make sure that everybody hears this story because it will make your day. The last book, as you guys know, or may or may not know, that we put out was Shannon's semi autobiographical novel, Splinter. And for those of you who don't know Shannon, Shannon has suffered from bipolar schizoaffective disorder since she was about 16 or 17 years old. It's as bad as it sounds. She started hearing voices, the real deal. If you haven't already read it, I highly recommend you do. It is probably the closest, most unflinching glimpse into what it is like when that comes on and having to struggle with it and so on and so forth. Obviously Shannon has, overcome that, and, displayed great strength and fortitude and all that stuff in doing so. And she has a career, family, all that stuff, whatever. And she wrote that book and it took a lot of courage. And that is amazing in of itself. Okay. So back in 2014, 2015, somewhere thereabouts, I worked at Genzyme in Alston Landing. I work for Sanofi now. It's the same company, sort of, but whatever. Anyways, I worked overnights. And when I worked overnights there was a woman that worked alongside me. Her name was Naomi. Naomi worked in a different department, so I would see her from time to time, but every time I ran into her, it was always super friendly, super cool girl back then. She was a single mom, and most of the conversations that I would have with her, she would talk about how she was worried about paying for college for her daughter, Jasmine. Her daughter, Jasmine, is super smart and all that stuff, whatever, and she wanted to make sure that she was going to have an opportunity to go to school and all that stuff, whatever. In 2016, so one night she comes in and she's beyond ecstatic. Basically what ended up happening was Jasmine got a full scholarship to, I think it was either RISD or Rhode Island College, or it was a school in Rhode Island. It was like an English scholarship, but get this, she got the scholarship for poetry. I have, when she told me that way back then, I thought it was what was this, 1856? I didn't realize that they gave scholarships for that, but there you go. So she was off to school and everything was great. A couple of years later, 2017, 2018 or whatever, still working overnights. Basically she kind of just dropped off the map. Naomi did. It happens pretty frequently, especially on like a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift where it's just kind of like you stop seeing people. People get sick of it, whatever. I was kind of sad because, she was one of the cool people that I worked with, and the industry I work in is rife with dickheads. So anyways, 3 weeks ago, who pops up? Naomi. She's working at Sanofi Framingham. She's in another building, whatever, but I happened to run into her in the building that has the cafeteria and all that stuff. Big, huge reunion, all that stuff, whatever, hugs and all that jazz or whatever. So it turns into kind of an impromptu catch-up session. She comes down to my office and we start going back and forth. I tell her about all the shit that, has been going on with me, especially in the past couple of years. She can't believe it, and she's, happy I'm still here and all that stuff, whatever. And, that's that. And I was like, so, what the hell happened in 2018? She said, she had some personal family stuff that she needed to take care of, and it was, demanded that she had to leave work pretty suddenly. So I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't pry any further. She started asking about the publishing company again and, what books we have out. And I mentioned Splinter to her, and I was like, yeah, that was the last one we put out. And then I described basically what I just told you about, you know, Shannon's struggles and all that stuff, whatever. So she's like, oh, that sounds like really, really interesting. And I was kind of like, oh, whatever. And, you know, I didn't think twice about it until I got a phone call last night. This was pretty late. We're all in bed. And that's when, you know, whatever, that's when I do kind of like most of my work. And it's Naomi. I'm going to get emotional again. But this is why I'm wearing the glasses. Her daughter, Jasmine, who had gotten the scholarship, basically was in school for 2 years. And in 2018, she started presenting with the exact same thing that Shannon has. Her condition is pretty severe, maybe a little bit more so than Shannon's. Basically, the voices in her head and basically her condition caused her to be paranoid that people were in her head stealing her work and using it and like stealing her thoughts. Basically like waiting for her to write her next poem so that they could use it and then whatever. So basically it progressed super quickly and she stopped writing altogether. She basically cut off that whole part of her existence, her whole creative impulse. I can't even imagine what that's like. Naomi had basically, after our conversation, had ordered a copy of Shannon's book. Heard the story, heard how she, you know, whatever, overcome it, and wanted to give it to her daughter to try to help with her condition. Naomi called me last night to tell me that when she went upstairs to go check on her daughter, Jasmine, she had a notebook open and she was writing again. She was writing again because of what Shannon wrote. Success isn't about sales or followers or whatever you think it is. When you write something that affects somebody's life like that and affects a change like that, you can't put a price on that. If you get a chance today, send a message to Shannon. I mean, I told Shannon she's fucking, obviously, she's on cloud nine. And her kid's flying in from Florida. She hasn't seen her, whatever. So Shannon is on a super high. So give her a shout out. It's like made my year already. See you guys.